I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're uncovering the incredible story of faith, courage, and miracles with Joseph P. Kenney, author of Triumph Through Trial, the untold story behind the canonization of Sister Maria Faustina Kowalska. This captivating book explores the heroic acts of a World War II escape, a daring rescue, and a miraculous healing that played a crucial role in the sainthood of Sister Faustina. With deep historical insights and personal connections, the author's account brings to life a story of hope, perseverance, and divine intervention. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Prime 7 Media for helping us put him in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support authors like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his amazing and captivating book. The links are below this interview. Joseph, great to see you here today on Spotlight. Thank you for joining me today, sir.
Glad to be here.
This is quite a story, quite a book, unknown to many. Even people of faith might not have known the full story of Sister Faustina. Tell us a little bit about what inspired you to write Triumph Through Trial.
Well, I was really intrigued by my in-laws, their story, my father-in-law in particular. As I mentioned, he's a World War II veteran, and I'm a veteran of Iraq myself. So we hit it off from day one when we first met, and I was really intrigued by his stories and everything. And very few people even know about what he served in. It's called the Slovak Army in Exile. They were reconstituted by the United States, and they helped fight with the Russians against Nazi Germany there, especially toward the end of World War II. And he played a pivotal role in the Battle of Dukla Pass, which became the turning point in the liberation of Slovakia. It's like, our Gettysburg.
Yeah.
I was initially intrigued by him and the family, and then I was also further intrigued by their story and the canonization of St. Faustina, mainly working on the second miracle that led to her canonization.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us a little bit about your father-in-law's escape from Slovakia and his return to rescue his family.
Well, I kind of describe it like the sound of music on steroids. That's how I describe it, where Baron von Trapp, as the story goes, he could have taken a commission in the Nazi Navy and been probably an admiral. My father-in-law, he could have accepted a commission in the Czechoslovakian army, probably became a general because he was so well known for his contribution to the Battle of Dukla Pass. So he didn't want to do it. He had a lot of other land, and he had a store, and he had a lot of influence, and he basically chose to stand up against the communist regime. And because of that, one of his friends took him offline and says, look, they're going to come get you. Who knows what they're going to do to you? Might execute you. Who knows? So he escaped. So he escaped out of Czechoslovakia on his own. And he talked about, he's on the train. He saw these two people talking, and he figured they weren't from here based on their shoes. Okay. So he later pulled them offline and said, I know you guys look like American intelligence. I know a lot. I can help you. So they said, how'd you know? And he said, I could tell by your shoes. Well, anyhow, he became kind of an informant for them. And I don't know if word got back or if they were just telling his wife back in Czechoslovakia that, you need to go on the radio and denounce your husband, and she wouldn't do it. They said, well, then you'll be arrested and your kids will go to an orphanage. So he got wind of that. And so he went and got a job on the Austrian Czechoslovakian border as a farmhand. And he spent about a week there watching the guards go back and forth and timing their movements. And then he snuck into Slovakia, and he got word to his wife to go visit her sister. And when she went there, he was there and said, we're leaving that night. And so they took a taxi to the border. He had it timed, and he snuck through the fence, and he managed to get away with him and his wife and two babies at the time, two daughters.
Amazing. Amazing. It sounds like something out of a Hollywood movie. Yet it's your family history, which is amazing. Have you thought about this as a film? Have you thought about somebody maybe taking this and turning it into a screenplay or something?
I thought about it. I guess my whole purpose in writing the book and doing this was to preserve the story. He had an incredible story. I didn't want it to be lost to the passage of time.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had other cousins and friends, who were World War II veterans, and they had unbelievable stories,
Yeah.
sacrifice. Most of them are never recorded.
Right.
Most of that generation came home and went back to work and wanted to forget about the war, but they sacrificed so much. And my father-in-law, was one of them.
Yeah.
That's why I did the book. But if I get the word out, that's fine. I've never really focused on being rich and famous over it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get the
Exactly.
story out. It's a good story.
Yeah.
I wanted to inspire people, especially when they're struggling, to hang in there, because the family had a lot of struggles and they hung in there.
Yeah.
They saw the fruit.
That's also the beauty of writing a book. You put it out there, you never know whose hands it's going to wind up in, and maybe somebody from Hollywood would turn this into a film because it's a wonderful story with amazing adventure and true heroism and bravery shown throughout, as well as miracles. And let me ask you about one of the miracles, the miraculous healing of Father Ron Pytel. Tell us about that.
Well, from what I was told, like I said, this happened before I came onto the scene. I started dating what would soon be my wife in December of 1999, and Saint Faustina was, canonized in 2000. But she, as I understand what I was told, he was suffering from a heart condition, severe heart condition, and there wasn't much hope for him. And his parish did a novena to Saint Faustina, and they said he went out in the spirit. Some people think he might have fainted. I don't know. He did have heart condition, so
Yeah.
he then, went back to work the best he could, and he started getting sicker. So he went to the doctor, and they found out what was getting him sicker was the medicine he was taking, because his heart had healed, and they couldn't figure it out. So that's the story in a nutshell.
Yeah.
But
Amazing, amazing. But your family had a role in that healing, right? Tell us.
Yes, they visited the Divine Mercy Shrine. They met Father Seraphim. They
Mhm.
became good friends with him. He was the vice postulator for the cause. He was involved in the first miracle. And my wife's sister was a podiatrist, a doctor. She had some medical knowledge, and they were just kind of offering their assistance. And they kept pursuing leads. They kept filling, go here, go there, look here, look there. And my mother-in-law, Marta, was like, keep trying. Don't give up several times. Even the vice postulator of the cause, Father Seraphim, want to give up. He didn't think this miracle would work. They said, keep trying, keep pushing, keep going. With their background determination, they did. And they eventually got a hold of Dr. Valentin Fuster, who is very well known in the medical field. He was the head of the American Heart Association at the time.
Wow.
So he was like the foremost authority, most renowned heart surgeon in the world,
Mm.
No doubt. And
Yeah.
he got involved, and he was the one who went over there and pushed the cause for the healing at the Vatican. But my in-laws, mainly my wife and her sister and her other couple sisters, they all spent hours upon hours delving through this mountain of medical records, trying to put it all in a concise binder that would make sense.
Yeah.
So that was their role.
Amazing,
They
amazing.
found out Booster summarized the medical information, and they handed it to them, and they got
Yeah.
it that way.
Yeah. Very, very intriguing. Tell me, what you hope readers take away from this book.
Well, I would hope that they can take away the sense of hanging in there despite life's difficulties. I mean, the Culhane family, they had a lot of difficulties they had to persevere through. I've had a lot myself, not as much as them, but it's all relative. But whenever you find yourself in a position where, you're down and out, don't know where to turn to, don't know if you can continue to carry on, I would hope this book would inspire you just to continue to carry on. Whether it be through abusive relationships, financial difficulties, other trauma that you suffered, abuse, just hang in there. First of all, get out of it the best you can, and then move on with your life and go on to bigger and better things. That's what my in-laws did. My father-in-law in particular, like I said, one time he commanded hundreds of soldiers and had the equivalent of millions of dollars back then, and he gave it all up, and he came back here to the States. He started as a farmhand in Michigan with hundreds of cows.
Mm.
He worked his way up.
Yeah.
And at the time did quite well. And like I said, his one daughter was runner-up Miss New York, and his granddaughter became Miss New York. So
Yeah.
that was part of his American dream.
Amazing, amazing. And your father-in-law truly is part of the greatest generation and what helps define the greatest generation because he did unbelievable things when they were young men and young women, and then went here and did another great job raising a family and, being true to the family. And it's quite a story. It's an amazing story. Did your background in law and military service influence your approach to writing this book?
Yes, I think it did. I was, like I said, I was a helicopter pilot in the first Gulf War, and I, saw a lot there.
Yeah.
But it was nothing compared to my father-in-law. I would never compare myself to him and what he did. But my background and my investigative skills helped me find this place called Friends of Dukla. And what happened was I got my father-in-law to go back to Dukla Pass at their ceremony like 67 years later. And he went back there. He was like hailed as a hero. And the General Swoboda, who was the general who liberated Slovakia and was later the president of Slovakia, his daughter was there, and my father-in-law talked to her about her father, and she didn't know a lot of the stories. And for me, the defining moment was in the museum, where the museum curator was listening to my father-in-law and documenting, because a lot of those stories were lost at time. And he was going, and he knew General Swoboda. He was talking about the battle and how it unfolded. And then my father-in-law talked about how he saved General Swoboda's life on the Russian front. And then museum curator's eyes like lit up, like, I can't believe that. General Swoboda wrote in his memoirs about a young officer who saved his life. Nobody knew who he was until that moment. And so that was my defining moment. But I knew enough about the military to try to get him there. And he, like I said, during the ceremony, was chosen to lay a wreath at General Swoboda's statue. And then he was hailed as a hero, and the news was there, and everyone did a story about him. So that's how my military helped.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, we're glad that you wrote this story. We're glad that you facilitated the telling of this story as well, because it's an important one, as I said earlier, of the greatest generation. The name of the book is Triumph and Trial: The Untold Story Behind the Canonization of Sister Maria Faustina Kowalska. This captivating book explores the heroic acts of a World War II escape, a daring rescue, and a miraculous healing that played a crucial role in the sainthood of Sister Faustina. It's an amazing book, and much of it is tied to the author's family, which is wonderful because you get kind of a firsthand account here. Joseph, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
It's my pleasure.
Pleasure's all mine. Thank you for joining us. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.